Hi, this is my final website teaching experience video. Earlier at the beginning of the semester, I was adopted into the Native American culture, and so I spent the whole semester researching and learning about them. And so now I'm going to be teaching my husband, Spencer, a little bit about their culture. He's looked over my website and has a couple of questions for me, so I'll let him ask me.
Okay. So I'm curious about like the history of their beliefs and specifically what religion, I guess, the Native Americans practice, if it is a like actual religion.
Okay. They don't have a religion. They don't call it a religion. What they call it is just part of who they are. It's not something that they think that they practice or that they are a part of or whatever, if that makes sense. It is who they are. It is what they do. It encompasses everything in their life. Their beliefs and who they are aren't separate to them. They fuse together, if that makes sense. So they don't think of it as a religion in that sense, like Catholics or Protestants or Baptists, like they.
So what is it that they do believe?
They do believe in a higher power, but they don't really call him God or whatever, but they do believe in a higher power, and they believe in the immortality of the soul, and they a lot of their beliefs are strongly tied to nature and animals and plants. I don't know, Pocahontas, like that kind of, if you remember the Colors of the Wind kind of song, like they believe that everything has a spirit, everything is connected to each other, and if you hurt one thing, you're really hurting yourself, just because it's all a big cycle, it's all a big hoop. To them, everything, like nothing is separate, everything is together, everything is connected, and they believe, like, also, if you remember the movie Brother Bear, like the totems that they got, they do kind of believe in that there is, like they give certain characteristics to certain animals, and there is a ceremony where when boys are becoming men, that they have their animal friend, kind of they come to, I don't know,
So they feel a connection with animals?
Yeah, they have their personality connects with a certain animal, so that's their animal characteristic kind of thing. But nature is everything that they believe, because that makes sense because this isn't a modern culture at all. They've been here for centuries. They've been here for forever, before any kind of anything was built, and so all they had was nature, and that's how they explained everything, was the sun and the water, and how that brings life, and how the sun is their God because it is kind of the source of everything. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I really answered your question.
Yeah.
What else would you like to know?
Oh, that's good. So how do they feel? So you mentioned that they were here long before anything was built, and obviously Europeans. How do they feel about, you know, Europeans coming over, the white man coming over and taking over or claiming this land for ourselves? Are they bitter about that? Are they okay with that? Where do they stand and why?
Well, I think when the Europeans first came, they didn't really understand what was going on. There was obviously a language barrier. And they didn't really understand that the Europeans weren't really their friends. They were here to take over their land and to conquer them and to just completely ruin their way of life.
Isn't it true that didn't they make friends with certain tribes? Didn't they make alliances with certain tribes or no?
Well, I'm sure that there was certain alliances, but they didn't last long. Any kind of treaty or alliance that has been made with the Native Americans has long been broken. I'm sure that I would not, I don't know. They should be very upset with what the Europeans did to them back then, and even what we've done to them throughout history. I mean, we are not the native people on this country, and we came in and we did not respect the land at all or their culture at all, and completely destroyed their way of life, and we destroyed their land. And like I said, when I was talking about their beliefs and their religion kind of thing, that's who they are. And once you destroy that, you pretty much destroyed who they are and them. And so it was just completely devastating. So we kicked them off of the land that they've worked so hard on, what they've always known, what their ancestors have grown up on, and we put them on reservations that isn't on good land to begin with. So they can't, so the nature aspect is pretty much gone. They can't, I mean, it's not like it was in their original culture, if that makes sense. You can't grow your food and stuff in the middle of the desert. Just stuff like that. And you've heard of the Trail of Tears, right? We've done awful things to them, and there's no way that we could ever make up for it. And I mean, the way that they live now has a lot to do with what we've done to them. The way they live now has a lot to do with us kicking them off their land, and because they wouldn't be this poor culture if we hadn't have done that to them. They're very self-sufficient, very self-reliant, but we've totally taken that away from them. We've completely destroyed their way of living by taking everything that they've known away from them. There's, I mean, the United States government has given an official apology to them for like the Trail of Tears and stuff, but that doesn't mean anything. Really, like, what does an official apology do? Nothing. I'm not.
So the government today hasn't really offered, the United States government hasn't really offered anything else to them as an apology, or
I mean,
to amend relationships, or what?
Not really. I mean, there is funding for them, kind of, like just kind of like any kind of federal welfare program or something like that is offered to them, and but there's only so much that just a little bit of money can do. I mean, their education system is awful, and I mean, just
They do private education?
I mean, they have their own schools on the reservations. I mean, they're public schools, but they have schools on the reservations, but they're all like, and you know that public education is funded by the land property tax, yeah, and which depends on the kind of neighborhood you live in and all that different kind of stuff, and they don't live in good conditions at all, so they're not going to have good schools, good books, good teachers, anything like that, and so a lot of kids drop out. A lot of kids turn to drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, just because they're not taught, and that cycle is just, that poverty cycle is never ending.
So you might not know like how or why, but coming from those conditions, growing up in that environment, how do casinos play into that? Like, how do they transition from like an impoverished childhood and forced circumstances to, this multi-billion-dollar company, and how do casinos play into all of that?
We like to think that every single reservation has a casino, and every Indian, every Native American owns a casino, and so they're just blowing their money on drugs and alcohol, but that really isn't the case at all. There's very few reservations that actually do have the casinos, and the casinos do bring in money for the reservations, but not as much as we would like to think. Like, it doesn't really play that big of a role like we like to think it does. I mean, we think every single reservation has a casino, and that the Native Americans don't need our help because of that. But
yes, what I'm asking is, if you know, how did the Native Americans get into the casino business? Like, how?
Probably, I don't know how they started the casino, but probably because they couldn't really think of another way to get money, and that is a way to bring in money, because
so gambling's illegal in a lot of places, but with an Indian reservation, you're allowed to have a casino, so that brings in source of income.
Something like that. I'm not exactly sure how they got started in the casino business, but
so I guess not so much on the history anymore, more on like today's stuff, current events. Why is the Washington Redskins football team such a negative thing when there's lots of other teams, sports that have, you have the baseball teams that have Indian or Native American references, or the Florida State Seminoles, college football.
Yeah.
Why is the Washington Redskins such a big issue amongst the Native Americans when these other teams are not?
That's a good question. Well, I'm not exactly sure why it has become an issue right now, because the Washington Redskins has been around for a while. So I don't know why it's become an issue at this moment, but I know where they're coming from, because the Florida State Seminoles, that is after a tribe. There's a couple others that are like.
There's the Seminole Nation.
Yeah, there's the Seminole Nation, and so that's actually named after a specific Native American tribe, a specific Native. That's the Washington Redskins. Their name came from a racial slur. It's not something. I don't know. It's not.
So an institution like Florida State has built a relationship with the Seminole tribe, and they have a rapport, and they have a relationship, and it respects and honors that tribe,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the Washington Redskins organization has not made any attempt.
Yeah, they're not connected with any tribe that I know of, because they're not named after a specific tribe that they would have to get permission from or
Right.
whatever. They're called the Redskins. I think anything that has a racial slur in it could be very offensive to anybody from that specific race or ethnicity. So that's where they're coming from. Not that their name is tied to Native Americans. It's that it's a Native American racial slur. So it's demeaning to their ethnicity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense.
Right, so that has been our discussion on Native Americans. Thank you.